guys, I wanted to get on here tonight and talk to you about Connor's first ambulance ride because it was a scary thing. I've never been in an ambulance. I've never personally had to ride an ambulance except for when I was born. But anyway, Connor is watching TV in the background. I hope it's not super loud, but anyway, Mickey's on, so he may squeal for a while. Anyway, so it was November of 2016, and Connor got a cold. We went to the doctor, and he just kept not getting better. Anyway, we went to the doctor, and they told us he has a cold, obviously, and to give him cough medicine, over-the-counter cough medicine. Sorry, he is bouncing on the couch, so it was making me shake. And so we're like, okay, and this was on Wednesday. And so we gave him, we were giving him children's Mucinex and over-the-counter cough medicine. He would wake up, hope you're not eating or anything. He would wake up with snot everywhere. He was very whiny. He cried a lot. If you know Connor, he doesn't cry unless he's told no or gets in trouble. He doesn't just cry, like for no reason. And so he would cry a lot. He was just really sick. Anyway, we went to the doctor that Wednesday. We got Mucinex and over-the-counter cough meds. And, of course, we were doing his breathing treatment. And I probably need to do a video about all his lung stuff. He has a lot of lung stuff going on. Anyway, so we were doing his albuterol. And I went to work like normal. I did not work where I work now. I did not work in the school system, so I didn't have holidays and stuff off. He was out of school for Thanksgiving holiday. We made it through. It was our first Thanksgiving together. We made it through it. He would try to get up and play, but he did not feel good. I could just tell, wow, he's super sick. So that Friday, now we had been to the doctor on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That Friday, it was Black Friday. He was staying with my mom because my mom was off work and I was working, and I sent her a message to check on him. I'm like, hey, what's he doing? Is he acting okay? He got to where he wouldn't eat or drink but for me. And that was so hard because I needed to work. And so I was like, hey, is he eating? Like, did he drink anything? What's he doing? And she was like, he is just laying here. Like, he is lethargic. He is, he's really sick. And I don't know why, but in that moment, I was like, enough's enough. Like, and I don't know how you can even say enough's enough when we had just been to the doctor that Wednesday. But I said, enough's enough. Let me pop this out so I can hold this better. Okay. So I said, enough's enough. Let's figure something out here. And part of the thing too is I couldn't remember when he had peed last, and I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, I said, I'm at work. I said, enough's enough. I called his doctor's office. Now it's Black Friday, so they're closed, but they always have a doctor on call, and I love that. And so I called the doctor on call, and I was telling her what was going on because they had just saw him on Wednesday. And she said, when's the last time he peed? Because I'm like, he won't drink for me. He won't. Like, something's really wrong with him. He's getting worse. And she's like, when's the last time he peed? And I had to think about it. Like, I could not remember. And she was like, you need to go to the emergency room. So I called, of course, my supervisor. And I'm like, hey, someone had just come in to work with me. We were supposed to be working together. But so someone was there. Anyway, I'm like, I called my supervisor. I'm like, hey, something's wrong with Connor. His doctor wants me to take him to the emergency room. I need to go. And of course they were like, yes, go. It's fine, And so of course I apologized to the person I was supposed to be working with for just like, hey, bye, leaving her. Anyway, she was fine with it, of course. And so, I called my mom and I'm like, hey, let's go to Sweetwater Hospital. Meet me there. Y'all, I didn't know what I was doing. Connor had come home in January, so he hadn't even been home a full year yet. And this was our first bout with a really bad sickness. And I didn't know what I was doing. Sorry, he's bouncing around. I am woman enough to admit that. I made some critical mistakes here. One of my mistakes was he should have went to a children's hospital. But again, you live and you learn. He'd never been in a hospital. He'd never been, so I didn't know. I took him to Sweetwater Hospital. They were phenomenal. They were great. We got there. They checked us in. There wasn't hardly anybody there because, hello, everybody's Black Friday shopping. And so we got in, and the first thing they wanted to do was an IV. They're like, he's extremely dehydrated. We need to do an IV. And I'm like, okay. And then they were listening to his breathing, and they were like, we want to do a chest x-ray. And I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. So they did a chest x-ray, and they come in, and they're like, hey, it's pneumonia. Now, all this, Connor is screaming, crying, because they'd done an IV, and he's super upset. He's in this hospital bed. He don't want to be there. He don't feel good. He hasn't ate. He hasn't drank. And so they were giving him IV fluids, and they were watching for him to pee, and it took forever. He finally peed a little. Anyway, the chest x-ray came back. He has pneumonia. We're sending you to Children's Hospital. And it was like a whirlwind of like emotions, but I didn't even have time to be sad. And I think my mother's intuition sort of knew. I don't brag on myself, but I brag on God for instilling us moms with this intuition where we just know. When I got home that day, I called Jeremy and told him, hey, they're telling me to take him to the emergency room. I'm going to take him to Sweetwater because we're like 2 minutes from Sweetwater Hospital. And I'm thinking, it's closest to us. I wasn't really thinking. I was freaked out. We've never been to the emergency room. I don't know anything about this. Like, I'm freaked out. But I told Jeremy, I'm going to get me some clothes and some things because I just have this feeling that they're going to put us in the hospital. I think they'll send us to Children's. And so, mother's intuition, y'all. I had no idea he had pneumonia. I had no idea how bad this was, but I just had this feeling. So I threw a phone charger. I threw some clothes for him, some clothes for me. Of course, I was getting his birth certificate and things like that because I was trying to remember if the adoption was finalized. I guess it was finalized, but his name wasn't fully changed on Andrew. But anyway, we had a lot of trouble changing his name. I should do a video. I could do a whole video about that. We had a terrible, terrible time because when Connor came home, he wasn't adopted until he was home for 6 months. So when he came home, his insurance was in his Chinese birth name. And then once he was adopted, we had to switch to his name. And insurance got super confused and thought he was 2 different people. Anyway, so I got birth certificates, I got adoption paperwork, I got all that stuff because I'm like, we're about to have a time here, Anyway, just in case. And I got me a change of clothes and a phone charger and my toothbrush and a few things like that because I just had this feeling. So anyway, sorry I didn't put that in earlier. I always backtrack. Anyway, so we get to Sweetwater Hospital. Hey, he is bouncing all over this couch. Hey, he has pneumonia. We're sending you by ambulance to Children's, but you need a car seat. Well, my mom was with me at the ER. She had just left to go get gas because she didn't have enough gas. So she found out we're being sent to Children's. She was going to drive up, obviously, and she's like, I need to go get gas. So I didn't have my car there. I live 2 minutes from the hospital. My mom had came to my house, and I had hopped in the car with her and Connor, and we went to the emergency room. So she's gone with the car seat. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I called Jeremy. Jeremy had just got home from work. So Jeremy ran down there and gave the EMTs the car seat. They strap it on a journey. They strapped it on the gurney. And that's how he went. First, I was told, you cannot ride with him. And I didn't go crazy. You know, I'll do what I have to do. If I have to ride in the car with my mom behind the ambulance, I'll do it. But I knew he was going to freak out on him if we had to separate. Because he was extremely, extremely upset anyway. And at the time, he was super attached to me. I mean, he still is. But at the time, he was stranger danger. I'm not going with you, you know. And so I'm like, oh, okay, you know. But then that's what Sweetwater Hospital nurses tell me. And I'm not faulting them because that is the rule, y'all. But then when the EMTs got there and saw him, and I think, I'm just going to be honest here. I think a lot of times when people see people with like Down syndrome or any other diagnosis, I almost said disability, and someone's going to gripe at me for calling Down syndrome a disability, but you know what I mean. I think not that they're scared of them, but they're like, ooh, bring them on. You know what I mean? Like they know, hey, this child might flip out on me. And any child would flip out on me, I think, without their mom, but that just adds a whole nother layer to it. So they tell me I can ride, so I'm like, oh, thank goodness. It was like such relief. So anyway, I got to ride in the ambulance with him. I remember them putting him on. It was super, super scary. Oh, God, I was so sad. But I told myself, do not cry, because he was so upset. So I'm like, do not cry. So they had this IV in his arm, and they're wheeling him out on this gurney to put him on the... He's so wild, y'all. They're wheeling him out on this gurney to put him on the ambulance, and I'm walking behind, you know. And he has an IV in his arm, and he's in his car seat strapped on a gurney, so he's way tall. And I don't know why, but, like, he held his arm up that had the IV in it the whole time. He held it up. And, like, we're laughing. Me and the EMT are laughing and joking, because he's like, and I will say that he perked up a little once they got IV fluids in him, because that helps you feel better. And if you've ever been severely dehydrated, you know what I'm talking about. It pumps in you so quick that you do feel better. Now, he was not better, but he felt better than he did before. So anyway, he's riding through with his arm up. They load him on the ambulance that way, and he sit like that for the longest till I finally told him, babe, you can put your arm down. And I, like, pulled his little hand down, and he relaxed and sit it down. And I'm, like, numb. Hey. I'm, like, numb at the time. Like, I'm telling myself, don't get upset, don't cry, because I don't want to scare him more, because he was already pretty scared. How can I do this and be serious? He's so goofy today. So I'm like, okay, I cannot show emotion, I cannot be scared. But at the same time, I didn't even feel those emotions. Like, I felt numb. Like, I'm doing what I got to do here. I'm trudging through, you know? And so they put him on the ambulance. We ride to Knoxville. It was a horrible, horrible storm came. It literally was blowing the ambulance all over the interstate. It was crazy. I could see out the window, and like people would give you these sad, sympathetic looks. It was awful. It was really sad. We get to Children's Hospital. We had to wait a long time, like hours, in the, like, they take you in the ER, and they took us back to a room. It's like a holding room before you get a room, and we knew we were being admitted. And so they were doing breathing treatments. I will say, we had one nurse come in, and she questioned me about how long it had been since he peed. I don't remember what I told her, but, like, she went off on me. She told me, don't you ever let him go that long without peeing. That's reckless. Anyway, she was really mean to me, and it really hurt my feelings. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, but I am adding that into the story because she was super, super mean to me. And I just want to say, we all need to have a little grace. I was a new mom. I was learning. Did I mess up? Obviously, of course. But I had him at the doctor on Wednesday, and he sounded okay. It was not pneumonia. So that is just a testament to how fast things can change and how fast pneumonia can come on. Because his lungs were clear. They sounded clear. They didn't do an x-ray or anything on Wednesday, but they sounded clear. And then on Friday, his lungs are filled, and he has pneumonia. Anyway, so we get a room. Connor needed oxygen. He was super mad about it. Anyway, we were there for 2 days, I think. And they were coming in and they were doing, I don't know what it's called. I'm going to make myself sound crazy if you're a doctor or a nurse. Sorry. I'm just a mom. But they would come in and put this thing on him that like beat on his chest. And what it was is it was helping break that up in his lungs, which how crazy is that? And he loved it. He thought it was like a little massage. He was all about it because most kids hate it. And we really thought he would hate it. He loved it. And then they finally figured out that his nose ducts or whatever you call it were clogged. Both of them were completely stopped up. There was no amount of putting saline up in them, saline up in them, no amount of nothing that was going to work. So what they did was they took this tube and ran it through his nose to like clear it out. And that was part of the reason why, obviously he didn't feel like eating either, but that was part of the reason he wouldn't eat or drink, because he could not breathe if he did. When he did, he felt like he was like smothering. So they ran, first of all, let me say both grandmas were there, my husband's mom and my mom, and when they were going to run these tubes down his nose, I'm like, you need to get out of the room, both of you. And I've never kicked anyone out of the hospital room. I'm always calm and collected. Whoever's here is here. I'm super soft-spoken. But like I spoke up in that moment because I knew they're going to get emotional because he's about to be distraught. And it's going to make me upset. And I needed to be strong. I just kept telling myself that over and over. You have got to be strong. If he sees you cry, if he sees you upset, it's going to terrify him. And so I will say that I cry a lot. I did great, okay? I just need to pat myself on the back. I never brag on myself. I really don't. But I did really good through this. So there's like 3 nurses in there and myself, and Jeremy was there, and we're like helping hold him down, and the grandmas we kicked out in the hall, and they're like looking in, crying and everything out in the hallway. I should have shut the door, but I didn't. And they go down one nose, and like he's fighting them all the way. Bless their hearts. Seriously, they had their work cut out for him. And so all of a sudden he starts gagging, and what happened was the tube went down a little too far, and it was starting to come out his throat. Anyway, they got his nose cleared. And anytime a nurse would come in to like change an IV or do anything like that, she would bring reinforcement. She would bring more nurses. And finally one of the nurses told me, we've heard about him on this floor and we know he's a fighter. Like he would like kick, smack, whatever he had to do. And Connor's not like that. He's not aggressive. He's not, but he would like go crazy on him. Anyway, I just thought it was funny that this, at the time, 25-pound little boy like had a reputation on the floor that he was rough. And so anyway, we ended up getting to go home. So thankful, so happy we got to go home. He clapped, he blew kisses, he was so excited once we got in the car. But when we were first going to leave, see, anytime we were there a whole weekend, so we were there 2 days. Anytime he would leave that room for any reason, it was to like go get an x-ray, go to this room, get this IV, go here and get blood drawn. So leaving the room in his mind was bad. So when it was time to go home, I put his little PJs back on him, and we went to leave the room, and I have a picture of him bawling with his head laid on his hospital bed, bawling because he did not want to leave, y'all. And I think it was because he wasn't sure. He thought we were going to do something else. And so when we walked out the hospital doors and I was loading him in the car, he realized we're going home. And he cheered. He was so happy. And that part was incredible. It's such a super high when you realize they know they're going home. And we've had more hospital stays since then, more ambulance rides. So it's just awesome. But this was our first experience. It was super scary. I remember vividly what he was wearing. He was wearing feety PJs, and they had fire trucks on them. And I remember when we walked into the children's ER, they brought us in on the ambulance bay or whatever, and he's being wheeled in on that gurney, and the nurses are standing at the little desk there, and I'm walking behind the gurney with just clutching those feety pajamas. Like, and I was like blank. I know I was. But like inwardly, I was thinking, do not get upset. Do not get upset. You know? And the looks those people gave me were heartbreaking. Because it was like they felt so sad for me because they knew, oh my gosh, look at this little boy, you know. Anyway, and I vividly remember that. So we came home. I don't really remember what time it was, but it was late in the evening. Like, it was already dark. I gave him a bath. Everybody feels better after they're clean, right? I gave him a bath. He was happy. He did his breathing treatment and all his medicine. He was on a ton of medicine for a while after that. All his medicine, and I put him on fresh, clean PJs, and I have tons of pictures of that. And I'm sitting in the living room with him, and it's like everything hit me at once, and I started bawling. I'm not talking about I let a few tears roll. I'm talking about I started bawling. And he came over to me, and I tried not to do it in front of him, but at least I didn't do it in the hospital where he was terrified. He comes over to me, and I have a picture of this, and he kisses me on the cheek and pats me on the back. And y'all, it made me 10 times worse. Anytime I'm crying, if you hug on me, get ready for the sobs, because they're coming. And so I cried and I cried and I cried, and I think it was just that release of I don't have to be strong anymore, and like the storm is over, which it wasn't completely over, but you know, we're home, we made it through, God took care of us. But that was Connor's first ambulance ride. It was so scary, and it freaks me out anytime he has to ride an ambulance. He's had to ride an ambulance like 3 times since then, but something about that first ride, because I just, it's like I can't believe this is happening. I cannot believe this is happening, and like when it happens now, it still freaks me out. I can't believe it's happening, but it's like we've been here before, and God has been there every step of the way, so you have nothing to fear. You're fine. Everything's going to be okay, because it always is, and that's because God is good, and He takes care of us. And I don't know how I'm strong during all these things. I've had so many people tell me, you're so brave, you're so strong. I'm really not, y'all. I'm not at all. And so many people tell me, you know, it takes a special person to raise a child with special needs, and want to put me up on a pedestal. I don't deserve it, y'all. I am so ordinary. I really am. And I am just putting one foot in front of the other. And I don't have all the answers. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Just like going to Sweetwater Hospital. And they were good to us. I'm not discounting them in any way. But I should have took him to Children's. Like, why did I stop at Sweetwater? You know, and now I know that. Now we go to Children's. And so, you live and you learn. And, you know, that nurse really reprimanded me. She really hurt my feelings. She really offended me. But I never let him go over 6 hours without peeing. I immediately, we're going to Children's. We're going to something's up, you know? And so, yes, she was harsh, and she should not have done it the way she did it, in my opinion. But she helped me remember it. I remember it. I will not forget that a child needs to pee every 6 hours, or they're dehydrated. Something's up. And so, got to give her some credit. She taught me something, and she instilled something in my head. Like, I cannot forget it, because she was so mean to me. And so, just another little tidbit about our trip. And just in case you don't know, your child should not go 6 hours without peeing. Anyway, it was crazy. It was wild. But we made it through, and because God's so good, and He took such good care of us. He really did, y'all. And we're so grateful. And we're so grateful for everyone who prayed. At our church, within minutes, was like praying for us, lifting us up. And we felt those prayers, y'all, because I couldn't have been strong without them. I promise you I couldn't have. Because y'all know I cry almost during every video I do. And most of my videos is stuff that's happened a while ago, you know. So I'm not tough, and I'm not brave, but somehow I was, and I know people were praying for us, and so we greatly, greatly appreciate it, and we have the best friends and family, we really do. And anyway, that's Connor's first ambulance ride story. So there you have it. I'm going to let you talk to Connor. Let me get him over here. Hey, say hi. Can you say hi? Can you say hi? You remember your first ambulance ride? Was it scary? Okay, tell them bye.
Bye.